Podcast New York.
What's up, Dueling Decades? This is Wax. Peace to all you guys, and thanks for having me on the show. Will it be the 90s or the 80s? Beanie Babies or Crack Babies? Will it be Nirvana or Madonna? Maybe Britney, maybe Whitney. Do you like new metal or new wave? Dave Grohl or Super Dave? I don't know. But now the battle begins. Dueling Decades. Let's see who wins.
Dueling Decades.
All right, Drew Zachman, we're heading into the hot products round. You have control of the board, so that means you get to decide if you want to go first or if you want to defer to one of us.
I'll go first. I'll kick off hot products here. All right. Now, up until May of 1994, in order to view a movie at home, you had to either wait for it to come on TV or cable, or have a box that gave you cable, which I didn't, but I know someone who did. But either that, or you could own the VHS, or there's a couple of other ways, but usually like waiting for it to come out on TV or like VHS, they were the more popular options at that time. Or you could do what I did and just wait till it comes on TV and then record it on VHS, which I think made up like 97% of our VHS collection. But I feel like we also should have bought stock in TDK and Kodak in the late 80s. But May of 1994, that was all about to change. Two monster companies, Sony and Philips, you may have heard of them, decided to join forces for the betterment of humanity and develop a new kind of high-density medium. That's right, high-density medium. CDs are already out, but they weren't big enough to hold a high-quality resolution for an entire movie. Although 14-year-old Drew was probably looking at 16-bit boobs back then, but whatever. Anyway, Sony and Philips joined forces to work on this medium, some kind of disc for digital video, if you will, or perhaps a digital video disc that could be used. And this digital video disc would hold 7 times the amount of data of a CD, 4.7 gig on one side compared to 680 megabytes for a CD. And I'm talking about, of course, DVDs. And this would eventually be released in Japan on November 1st, 1996, and then the United States of America on March 24th, 1997. But what I'm talking about is the initial concepts of creating the DVD. So that happened in May of 1994.
Wow. All right, guys. So I'll go next. My hot product is actually an album. It's a compilation album. It was an album that was released May 8th of 1984. Yeah, and it sold over 25 million copies globally. That's why I'm considering this one a definite hot product. So since it sold that many copies, that means that about 1 in every 312 people on the planet own a copy of this album. And it's an album that was ranked number 46 on Rolling Stone's list of 500 greatest albums of all time. And it's the album that first introduced me to this artist and why it's so special. I remember hearing it for the first time my junior year in high school in the Students' Lounge. And shortly thereafter, I went out and I purchased my very own copy of this. And it's an album that's still in my rotation today. It's the best-selling reggae album of all time. I Give You Legend by Bob Marley and the Wailers. Sold over 15 million copies in the United States. It's the 17th best-selling album overall in the United Kingdom. And it holds the distinction of being the second longest charting album in the history of Billboard magazine, only surpassed by Dark Side of the Moon. I mean, all the hits are here on this one. This Is Love, No Woman, No Cry, You Could Be Loved, Three Little Birds, Buffalo Soldier, Get Up, Stand Up, Stir It Up. And then over on side 2, we have One Love, I Shot the Sheriff, Waiting in Vain, Redemption Song, Satisfy My Soul, Exodus, and Jamming. Now, if you picked up the cassette version of this album, you got 2 extra songs, Punky Reggae Party and Easy Skanking. Not quite sure what that one was about. Island record executive Dave Robertson, who compiled the tracks for the album, actually said that the track list was deliberately selected to appeal to a white audience. And some of the more political songs from Bob Marley were left off the track listing. So if you're looking for mass market appeal to secular progressive America, you don't go and include songs that invoke the collective guilt over the slave trade. So Legend was released in 2014, yet again in celebration of its 30th anniversary. And to this date, into the date of this episode, the world has been without Bob Marley for 40 years as he died of cancer on May 11th, 1981. So I give you Legend by Bob Marley and the Wailers. Just an absolutely epic compilation album, and was a definite hot product for me all through high school. All right, Man Crush, what did you bring for the hot products round?
All right, so let's go May 1st, 1974. Listen, when it comes to the early 70s, it's extremely difficult to find a hot product. And after doing the 70s for the last year, we figured out like what to explore to potentially find something. Yet sometimes you just come up empty. But this month I didn't, and I think both of my competitors here did. So I'm going to throw out my product here. So after I exhausted all of my, my searching and everything, I decided to look at some magazines that came out for the month. And now I wouldn't usually jump to magazines because you have to find something that stands out. And like, what exactly makes this magazine more special than another magazine that came out that month? So after lengthy research, I decided to go with May 1974 issues of Playboy. And obviously, like any Playboy magazine is going to hold a special place in somebody's heart. But what makes this particular Playboy, like what makes it stand out? And I'll be honest, initially I was drawn to the cover because obviously it's smut, so who wouldn't? But the cover features a shot of a scantily clad, got Marcia Kay, and she's wearing a very, very, very sheer bra that's 110% see-through. I wish I knew where this was being sold in 1974 because she might as well have been topless. Whatever. That's all well and good, right? But special, probably not that special. So then you open up the magazine and you look at the interviews. Okay, so we have an interview from the beloved Hammerin' Hank Aaron. Okay, that's cool, but like not uber special. Keep in mind, we talked about this earlier. This was released at the height of Watergate. So you also have a Q&A with Woodward and Bernstein about how they broke the Watergate story. Again, it's pretty important, a super important event in U.S. history, but I'm sure everybody was covering this at the time. Then you get to Playmate of the Month, Marilyn Lang. And let me just sum this up with one word. Whoa.
Whoa.
Marilyn is so stunning. She eventually becomes the Playmate of the Year for 1975. So this is where the extensive research comes in. If you Google, you guys are in the chat right now, Google an image of Marilyn Lang, May of 1974, and you will see what I saw. Marilyn is a very well-endowed woman. So well-endowed. She wore a 39F bra. 39F. So I went through every Playmate of the Year in the existence of Playboy, and Miss Lang has the largest breasts to ever hold that accolade at a 39F.
I've seen bigger.
So I give you Playboy May of 1974 for the low price of $1, which is around $5.37 in 2021.
How many yen?
A lot.
Unbelievable, painstaking research. Thank you for your sacrifice.
Oh, that must have been tough research for Man Crush.
I had to start in the 50s and go all the way to 2020.
Let me research Playboy.
Countless hours of research, of digging in carpal tunnel.
Yes.
It's like Eric just said in the stat. He just said stats don't lie. So there you go.
All right, Joe Findlay, we're going to go over to you. what is your verdict for the Hot Products round?
Okay. Sorry, I googled some images and now I'm flustered.
He's doing research.
Yeah. No, I have Marsha K in front of my face right now, but that's neither here nor there. Let's just.
Oh, you didn't even get to Marilyn Lang yet?
Oh, I did, but I went back just because I felt like the cover. I'm judging based on cover right now.
She couldn't last that long.
Did you say you were looking at pictures of Marsha Clark?
Oh, if only.
Marsha Brady.
I did say I hope I said Marsha K. But either way, hey, it's all Hot Products, baby. But anyways, I'm sorry. So we'll start with Drew and the DVD. I'm hesitant with this one because it was the concept of the product, not the product itself. Therefore, it wasn't selling yet. Therefore,
gotta start somewhere, buddy.
I understand.
It was.
I understand. I used
The technology
it
was very hot.
Oh, it was very hot. Very hot. That digital versatile disc, baby.
That's right.
But I look at the next two. I'm going to throw you under the bus for a second, Man Crush, because I know these two aren't watching the chat, and somebody was trash talking you two a lot during during your picks. But he has a point, though. Okay, so the music, it's a hot album. It's basically the best of Bob Marley without actually being a best of album. Doesn't get better than that. Full disclosure on me, my first reggae album was the best of Inner Circle.
Oh, wow.
Because
They're going to make you sweat, man.
That's actually precisely the reason why I got that album, because we were up at a cottage and there was like a little like community area and we were hanging out with the kids, and all these kids kept playing that song over and over again. And I ended up getting, it was one of the first 4 CDs I ever bought. And maybe I'll reveal the other ones another time.
Much like these folks here on YouTube. I've been watching you.
Yeah. So a lot of that, but it's the music round, but it's also the Hot Products round. I get that it's a hot product. I go from there, and then I go to Man Crush, and
You go
Man
to
Crush
me, or you went
wins.
to the picture?
I'm giving it to the Playboy, not just because of the picture I can't stop staring at, but the it's an interesting one because, again, the difficulty finding stuff like this, especially in the 70s, is tough. But then to find one that had a lot of, because it's supposed to be the gentleman's magazine and these interviews and stuff like that. And there was a lot of things of cultural importance all kind of going on at the same time, all falling into the magazine as well, that, even the more stern businessman might have picked up, and said, I'll tear this cover off so I don't see this woman's breast and I'll pray for her later, but I got to find out what Woodward and Bernstein had to say. So I'm going to go with that for my hot product for my win. And that gives Man Crush the victory.
That's like what you do. That's like your edging is the Woodward and Bernstein. Hey, I have a great idea because I think both their picks were fantastic. They're just, I didn't necessarily see them fitting with Hot Products. However, I think it's fair. Let's all go to the wild card round, throw out a quick wild card, let Joe pick it and see what happens. And then after that, we'll give away the rest of the shit that I have sitting over here.
I do like hearing people's wild cards.
All right, guys. So for my wild card, I had another album. Believe it or not, and I had to try to slide this one in. I was going to pick it for my music round, but I decided to go with Dove's Cry. This is the debut, the self-titled first album of the Fat Boys. This is the Fat Boys' first album, May 29th, 1984. It had Jailhouse Rap, Stick 'em Up, Can You Feel It, Fat Boys, The Human Beatbox. You can't go wrong with the Fat Boys. We lost Prince Marky D not too long ago. Rest in peace. And, I was a huge fan of the Fat Boys growing up. So I had to go with the debut album. That's what I had for wild card. Drew Zachman, what did you bring for wild card?
So for mine, also I did an album, also self-titled album, but it's not known as that. Basically, this album is known by the color of the album. And I was torn on this and the other album that I wound up going with, the Beastie Boys, but I feel like I like the Beastie Boys and Ill Communication much more than this album, although this album is fantastic too. But May 10th, 1994 is the greatest hits from Nelson Mandela. But now it is the Blue Album from Weezer. So that one, I mean, Weezer, I don't know if I need to say much about it. I mean, Say It Ain't So has been streamed over 240 million times on Spotify. Buddy Holly over 186 million times. These guys have over 10 million monthly listeners. I mean, when people talk about albums from the 90s, the Weezer Blue Album is usually one of the ones they bring up. So that was my wild card.
Awesome. One of the best produced albums I've ever heard, thanks to Rick Ocasek of the Cars.
That's right. Great album.
Man Crush, you won this game, but what did you have for the wild card round?
All right, since you guys both came with music, let's go movies. I got a group of kids in Brooklyn. They form a gang, and from this moment on, they do everything together, which makes their life easier. But at the same time, now they face new problems, and it just so happens to be the big screen debut of Sylvester Stallone. And not only that, but Henry Winkler was also in this movie, also his first major role. And he bases Fonzie's performance, or Fonzie's character, off of the performance of Stallone's character, Stanley Roselio. So this is like a double banger. And it's the movie Lords of Flatbush.
Wow. Deep cut.
That's a funny name.
It's the 70s, bro.
All right, Joe Findlay. I know this wasn't an official round, but if you had to make a ruling on the wild card round, where would you have gone?
I mean, look at her.
Does she have a flat bush?
I kept her covered up, though. Hopefully nothing slipped. But I think if the video version, I will blur it if it did. But I think we're okay. It's interesting. I always love this round. Obviously, a little bit more when there's some more stakes behind it. But having two music and then having a movies one, we're comparing apples and oranges. I think I would lean. And again, I think that this actually has a distinct advantage because kind of my coming of age is right around the year that he's talking about. And I would go with Weezer and Drew in this round, only because it's like, it is my frame of reference and it's where I'm coming up. Like, I know the Fat Boys and the Fat Boys are cool, but, and Lords of Flatbush I've seen, but, you know, kind of like, you know, if I'm looking for a Sylvester Stallone thing, I'd be looking for more of a breakout than that. But all good choices. I just lean. I go with my adolescence as per that. You know,
if I came with Kitty and Stud's Party, that would have been more aligned.
Maybe tonight. I don't know, but yeah. So I'd go with Drew with this round, but it really doesn't matter.
No, it doesn't.
Sorry.
Well, congratulations again to Man Crush, who pulled out another victory on this one. But if you've missed an episode, you can always go over to duelingdecades.com. It is now your one-stop shop for everything on Dueling Decades. We have all the episodes are there, video and audio. You can subscribe to the show on any platform of your choice. So in the meantime, Duelers, we're going to bid you a peace, love, light, and a joy. Have a grateful week, everyone.